Hello everybody, Dave Neal here, stand-up comedian and host of Bachelor Recap, a guy's review. This video is about Matt James and a lot of people discussing why won't he take Rachael Kirkconnell back. As we saw on Monday night in the After the Final Rose conversation, Matt James, who had ended his season 25 stint as The Bachelor, ended it with a promise to Rachael Kirkconnell to get through the tough times of life ahead, to prove to her that he could love her as much as she loved him, and whatever other baloney Neal Lane had them say. He never gave her the engagement ring, but they looked like they were on their way. Of course, as we know, that turned out not good, as information came out about Rachael Kirkconnell's past, and then Chris Harrison defending Rachel. He steps aside. A real forest fire of garbage after the end of this season, a season that is supposed to be about love, but became about so many different social issues as Matt James took on the weight of the world as far as being the first Black Bachelor and what that meant to people that watch The Bachelor, and also what it meant to the community that he represents. So there have been articles coming out that sources say he broke up with Rachael Kirkconnell to protect himself, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, because he's sort of caught between a rock and a hard place. Does he just blatantly, or blindly I should say, accept Rachel's apology? And if so, does he get shunned from a large portion of a community that doesn't want this to be acceptable in our current times? So Us Weekly posted a story here. Bachelor Matt James ended a relationship with Rachael Kirkconnell to protect himself after controversy. Let's get to the quote. Matt broke up with, and this is again from a source. So what do we know? This could have been from somebody's grandmother when they say a source. Let's hope that Us Weekly has some journalistic integrity. Not holding my breath. Matt broke up with her to protect himself. It came at a bit of a shock to Rachel. A source tells Us Weekly exclusively about the split. Blah, blah, blah. Cut back to the source. He told her over and over again that he believed her side of the story and that he knew she wasn't racist. He ended things with Rachel because it wasn't a good look for him to stay with her. I mean, Emmanuel Acho said it as well. He said, I don't think you're racist, but obviously what happened needs accountability. I think most people believe she has paid the price. If you look at her, she looks like a withered down version of who she was when she went on to the show. I think we can all agree she has put in a considerable amount of suffering. Some people don't think that her apologies have had much substance, but if you look at her Instagram, she's putting together different resources and people she's talked to engage her platform, and at the very least, that performative action, while it might be just that theatrics, is something positive to do with your following. It's better than just being a keyboard warrior and posting a Black Lives Matter black box. If she's actually sharing resources and podcasts and doing the work, as we all say, at this point in time, is a step in the right direction. Is it not enough for Matt, or were there behind the scenes conversations between the two of them that maybe led him to believe that she isn't exactly sincere? We just don't know these things. We're left to fill in the blanks. A lot of people wondered in their conversation, Matt had such a blank stare and wouldn't talk about a lot of things. So a lot of people wondered, was it his love for Rachel that made him unwilling to air out what actually went down? And it's, also it's very fair to believe that since she didn't think what she had, she didn't necessarily think the photos that came out were wrong at first. Otherwise, she wouldn't have had them online. So we all have to go through a transformational shift when it comes from what we didn't know, our ignorance, to what we then know. In order to unearth that, you have to go through a large range of emotions, some of which might be anger that, why are they doing this to me? Why are they attacking me? I'm a good person. Defensiveness, and then finally realizing, I messed up. Let's get through this. And I hope Matt appreciates and sees that she possibly has gone through that shift, which I think it's I think it's fair to expect. It's fair to expect people to not just flip on their ideologies. We look at this in the political world. We look at it with family we disagree with on politics. it's important to just have empathy and grace for others and understand there's a lot of deprogramming that has to happen. You don't get to hold down for 10 seconds and just do a full system reswipe. A lot of people, and Rachael Kirkconnell wasn't willing to play the victim here, but a lot of people from where their educational background, where they grew up, their family's bigotry or ignorance, a lot of people come from places where you love your parents. So why would you just like flip ideologies from whatever they taught you, whatever the subtle ingrained biases are? All right. So the graphic designer took the allegations, that's Rachel, took the allegations very seriously, a separate source tells us. She recognizes that her actions were really harmful and she fully understands why people are calling her racist. She wants to take full responsibility for her actions, the insider said, noting that Kirkconnell formed a real connection with James and she wasn't interested in doing the show until he was announced as the lead. She saw what he stood for. She appreciated the fact he wasn't on the show before. He was the reason why she took the chance and saw giving up her life for the show was worth it. The second insider, lots of insiders. Everyone's inside. Everyone's on the inside here. The second insider also, listen, I've worked in PR companies where they completely just make up quotes. And so these insiders could literally just be us weekly interns sitting around a round table going, what do you think happened? Okay, you're on the inside. Oh, you're from North Carolina? That's close to Georgia. Let's get her on the source. Oh, you went to school at a rivaling, 810 college? Okay, great. Anyway, the second insider also adds that Kirkconnell respects Matt a lot, and although they have now broken up, he was supportive throughout the controversy while the season was airing. During the After the Final Roast special, while she was still very much in love with James, he explained he had to step back so she could put in the work on her own. And again, that's another one of those things. It would almost be better if he just broke up with her and was like, look, the pressures from all of society, if I stay with you, just isn't worth it. I just don't love you enough. That would almost be better than saying you need to do the work on your own, because then that leads a lot of people to go on her own. I mean, how is she supposed to understand the differences if you don't stand by her side by side? And I know the defense to that, he's got no right or duty to educate her on this. And that's just one of those kind of like things where you decide, while he has no right or duty to educate her on all of this, isn't that what you do in a relationship? Don't you? I know for me with my 7-year relationship, happy anniversary, Tasha. It's our anniversary today. That's why I got to get out of here and take her to a nice dinner. I already made cinnamon rolls this morning. You got to start with cinnamon roll muffins. Gluten-free cinnamon roll muffins to start the morning, and not a bad way to start your anniversary. But I understand, I can't possibly know what it's like to walk through life as a female, and I've learned a lot and empathized a lot after learning the challenges that my fiance faces. So we learn from each other because we really only have the base that we grew up in. So we learn from each other, and that's what's important with traveling, getting out there, meeting new people, living in different cities, different regions of the country or the world. It opens your eyes to different ways of thinking, and you realize your way is not always the right way. While I questioned our relationship, it was in the context of you not fully understanding my blackness and what it means to be a black man in America, he told her on Monday. It broke my heart because this is the last conversation I thought we'd be having. I didn't sign up to have this conversation. And again, they'll never blame The Bachelor, but The Bachelor put a hefty amount of weight on their shoulders to make this relationship work with all of the social pressure that's put on top of them. So that's the end of the article, and I'm going to play out what Rachel Lindsay said, but I really liked this quick comment on Reddit regarding commenters that have been leaving their opinions, and it's a very complicated story. We've spent hours talking about it and don't really have a clear-cut viewpoint, to be honest. I can empathize with both sides here. I can understand that Rachel wants love to transcend all of the issues, and I can empathize with Matt James, who's like, this is a lot. This is a lot. I get hate if I stay with her. I'm getting hate if I don't. What the hell? This isn't what I signed up for. I totally understand. So whenever you see a comment that kind of whittles it down, if you can explain what's going on in 1 or 2 sentences, you're probably not thinking hard enough. Well, I think he's a bad person because she blah, blah, blah. It's like, listen, it's complicated. We all know that. I know you're trying to leave that comment right now. You're like, damn, I got to delete that. What's really driving me up the wall, this is just a random Reddit comment. What's really driving me up the wall are the constant statements of, if Matt really loved Rachel, he would have stood by her, educated her, forgiven her, etc. People are not acknowledging that in doing so, we would be forcing Matt to bury his own hurt of her racist actions in favor of educating her, something she should be fully capable of doing on her own. In fact, based on the tone of the conversation last night, it seemed like Matt was already exhausted from trying to explain to her how her previous actions were racist and was protecting his own energy by ending things with her. My feeling is that by not allowing Matt to speak in clear terms last night, or by his own resistance and not wanting to air their dirty laundry on national television, the fandom at large has played into the notion of black men being unthoughtful, romantic partners, and white women loyal, faithful, and the victim of his actions. I know that many of us disagree, but it's just frustrating that it feels as though explaining this to the majority of viewers is impossible, and the show didn't do Matt any favors. Just wanted to vent about this a bit because my head hurts reading these comments. It's very interesting. I never really came from that point of view, like the women are loyal, and a trope that that black men aren't good romantic partners. I never knew that stereotype that was even out there, but I do think he was kind of biting his tongue in one way or another. And of course, she's going to take time to kind of understand and learn what she did. I mean, she's 24, and the whole country, she basically went super viral as being outed as a racist, and then it slowly kind of came back from there. And I think Bachelor Nation went from hating her to understand, okay, the pendulum swung and it really knocked her upside the head. Now let's look at her well-being. Let's look at his well-being and find out if they can work on things together. And I think all of us wanted, at the very least, as I made in my last video, with the Rachael Kirkconnell, Michelle Young interview they didn't share, all we wanted was someone to hug at the end of this, right? All we wanted was some resolution somewhere. We didn't get Matt James and Rachael Kirkconnell to a good place. We didn't get to see the Michelle Young and Rachael Kirkconnell interview. So we really, I guess the only resolution we got was Michelle Young sort of forgiving Matt James. That was basically it. So anyway, let's play a quick clip from what Rachel Lindsay was saying with old Billy Bushbags over here on Extra TV.
To this for Matt, he's in a tough spot. You know the guy. Do you think acting out of personal conviction, or is there like societal pressure?
I think it's both. And I think it's hard for us to give an opinion as to what Matt should do or how he should navigate his relationship with Rachel. I think it's just a personal decision.
Personal decision, it's both parts societal and personal. And there's a lot that's weighing on you. I know in relationships, if you have one person in your family who sort of is doesn't like your partner, that could make things challenging enough. Now imagine all of society, all of a core demographic, not and as someone like Matt James, we see him, as like most people are, as a people pleaser. Why wouldn't you want to please people? Why wouldn't you want to be likable? But in trying to do all that, he's kind of just stuck in the middle. Well, yesterday we celebrated 25,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for that. I told people I would do a 5-hour for 25,000 subscriber live stream special. That'll be Thursday, tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific time to 6 p.m. Pacific time. So that'll cover just about everyone in the U.S. and maybe even some Europeans can catch some of that too. And I'll be taking phone calls. We'll be Skyping with each other. Order your pizza, get your Domino's, get your DiGiorno, get that croissant crust pizza stuffed with 3 cheese, whatever that meat lover artery clogger pizza is that's out there. Get it, enjoy us. And also, if anyone wants more content and wants to support us, we've got our Patreon, which is a private podcast. You can go to patreon.com/thisapp. Shout out to all the new members that have subscribed. I get really in-depth and personal about how YouTube has changed my life this year, going from 2,000 to 25,000 subscribers, getting the amount of views of hundreds of thousands of subscriber channels. We literally are getting more views. I actually think I say it in this episode, but I was I auditioned for AfterBuzz TV a couple years ago, and I didn't get in, but based on some technicality, they thought my audition wasn't the right spec or whatever it was. Now it turns out that this YouTube channel gets more views than that whole entire platform by like double. So thank you guys so much for that. I really appreciate all the supportive comments, and everyone who's encouraged me along the way. Your support has helped me reinvest a lot of what I'm doing back into the channel, and you're going to see some big changes, and it gives me all the freedom and time to make more content. So thank you guys so much for all that. Links in the description. Join the mailing list. We're going to be releasing merch very soon, so you'll be able to get a hand on that. And thank you guys so much for watching. More content to come. Next video, I'll be playing all of your voicemails. We'll have a nice long conversation playing all of your voicemails and what you think about this wild ending to The Bachelor. We'll see you guys in a little bit. Bye now.